I'm in my 5th year of high school, and all year everyone's been thinking about the future. So of course people can be asking, "What are you gonna do after high school?" I usually say math. That's what I want to study, and man, the replies I get are interesting.
You're doing math? Wow, I was so awful at it. You must be really smart. I was so bad at math in high school, that's why I picked humanities.
Listen, I get it. Math can be really hard, but hear me out. There was a time when I hated it too. Seriously, look at my grades in 2nd year. So how the frick did I end up choosing math as a career? Am I crazy? Maybe, but my story might actually explain why so many people hate math in the first place. Elementary school, I was really good at maths. I always got maximum scores at every test, and math class felt easy and logical. In middle school though, I was okay, but not that good. I just didn't think much of the subject. But at the last year, I felt in some dark times for many reasons I'm not gonna explain here, but for discussion's sake, I'm just gonna say that I did not study much and fell behind. That year was the one where I needed to choose a high school, and I chose to do humanities. Even though I've been a STEM kid all along my previous years, I chose this school because I wanted to learn how our minds worked scientifically. So I enrolled, and yeah, I spent the last 5 years here. The thing is, this path is advertised as psychology by many, but a huge part of what we actually do is study how philosophers thought about children and education. And while it's not useless, it's definitely not science. And yes, I'm simplifying. It's a bit more complicated than that, but bear with me. The problem led a lot of us, me included, to start disliking the subject. Some wanted to change schools, others were just waiting for the last day of school. Even though I was slowly improving, I still had major issues with studying for 4.5 years. During that time, I got diagnosed with autism, and as a part of the process was taking an IQ test. Turns out I scored 130. Some of the skills measured in said test are logical thinking and math intuition, so I'm also personally good at math. Why was I so bad at it at school? Well, there were so many reasons, such as my environment, my difficulties at studying, and lack of persuasion, blah blah blah, but let me explain each one. As for environment goes, being surrounded by the right or wrong people makes a huge difference. In my case, my class particularly hates math, so you can guess how they went.
Kids, today we are gonna learn about how to solve quadratic equations. Well, let's begin. So we have x squared plus bx plus c equals 0. We are gonna bring the c on the right side, then we are gonna divide by a, then we are gonna complete the square adding b squared divided by 4a squared on both sides. Then we are gonna notice the left side is just x plus b over 2a, all squared, so we square root both sides. Understood?
Huh?
Next one is lack of persuasion. It's a huge problem students commit. Success in math is obtained through persuasion and just reasoning about X problem. Not being able to solve a certain problem highlights our weaknesses, which for many is really uncomfortable to bear, although it's not really necessary throughout all of our life. Then we have difficulties studying. The problem was that I thought that I was just bad at math with simple. I did not yet understood the nature of the subject. Which brings us to the next step in my story, which is how the hell did I come to like maths? In my 3rd year, I started watching 3 Blue, 1 Brown. He's a YouTuber whose videos are about math, but the purpose of these videos are different than normal education. I'm gonna talk about them a bit more later on. A bit of time had passed and it was the 4th year. I had improved a bit, such that now I knew math was my weakness and After I failed that test at the beginning of the year, I decided to study everything I needed to catch up, and I did. For the next test, I did the exercises from day 1 and got a 7 out of 10. It might not be the highest score, but I learned a bit about how studying math should be like, and let me explain how that should be. If you study literature, you will need to remember the author's life, names of the book, names of the character, the story plots, all of the themes, all of the figure of speech of the text you read. The only things you need to understand really are how the things relate to the author's life and story. As you might guess, balance between memory and understanding here is heavily towards the remembering part, which, guess what, is the most boring and the most difficult part for me. I just cannot seem to memorize all those names. As for math, all you need to do is understand and do the exercises, such that the theory will come from the derivations you have intuitively learned, and then for the exercises you just train your intuition and learn some tools that after learned will feel natural if studied well. At that moment, I understood that things as literature are not for me, not because I don't like them, but because I hate studying them. Then we have the last part of the story, the period between the summer of 4th year and 5th year. This summer, I promised myself I would study some math to get to a decent level, as in my school we are quite behind in math. So I did. The reason why I wanted to catch up was because I understood I loved studying math and physics, which I wanted to study at uni at the time. We get later at how I changed into math, but for now, let's take a look at what I did. I went from revising things such as systems to studying calculus. Before I mentioned I've got autism, well, that's also because neurodivergent people have a tendency on getting hyperfixated with certain topics. Well, math was one of them. In that period, I understood a lot of things. Let's go in order. Studying math is inherently different, and that's why I loved it. Math is thought-provoking and about puzzle solving, but in high school you do not get a chance of understanding the subject. I went from restudying the fundamentals of algebra to learning many concepts in calculus, but also some other concepts of other areas of math as well. My grades in math have not been lower than 9 out of 10, and I can say that I understood one of the most important things of studying maths, which is having a feel for the subject. After spending so much time studying the subject, I realized that I actually wanted to do math at uni. Initially I chose physics because I was scared of how formal math can be, but after studying it, I came to appreciate the rigor that is required to study the subject. It was not an obstacle but a tool in order to reassure me. But to reassure me of what? Let me explain. When you are a mathematician, you try to discover new theorems in math. No big surprise here, but how do you know your calculations are right? There are various methods of knowing that, but there's no one to tell you if what you say is right or wrong. I'll give you one example. I was scrolling on Reddit and I saw this meme. I thought to myself, well, e to the x does not change, so maybe through repeating integration by parts we could get something interesting. Let's start off with the integral of e to the x dx. Let's apply integration by parts. We got x times e to the x minus the integral of x times e to the x dx. And if we'll iterate this process, we got this series. Let's use the factorial notation, aka multiplying every integer under a number. Then let's recall that the integral of e to the x is just e to the x plus c. So our series equals to e to the x plus c. Let's set x to 0 in order to discover what c is. The series will be 0. The left side will go to 1 plus c. So c must be equal to minus 1. Let's substitute that into our own formula and let's solve for 1 over e to the x. And there we go. When I stumbled upon this, I could not believe my eyes. I discovered a series, well, sort of. Well, it is a known series, but nonetheless, it felt amazing. But was I right? I had to use a calculator to be sure, but sure enough, I was. It is right. It's been a while since I started making this video and I've been thinking a lot about ego in math. We all need a bit of ego, but not too much. A small amount gives us the confidence to try to pursue tough problems and to believe we can improve, but too much ego blinds us. We can't see our weaknesses, and worse, it pushes people away. Instead of appreciating your passion, they might resent it. And that's not just a people problem, it's a math problem too. Math is hard, it's endless, full of challenges that can make people feel small. A healthy ego helps us push through that, but too little and we start to crumble. When I first joined the Olympiad math team, I felt like I couldn't do anything. I knew the procedures, but I lacked the confidence, and that showed in my performance. I rarely got any answers. When I took my first solo test, I ranked 29th out of 200 students in my school. And all of the 200 people are a part of the STEM side of the school. I was shocked. It felt amazing, maybe a little too amazing. Let's say I got comfortable and stopped studying as much stuff that I needed, and in the next regional test I didn't as well as I could have. Still a decent result, but I didn't do as well as I could have. That's ego again, this time a little too much of it. I've talked about how my class hates math, and honestly, I think part of it comes from a lack of ego in math. They don't believe they can do it, so when they make mistakes, they assume they're just better at it, which makes them avoid it more, and the cycle repeats. Then, if someone like me answers a question quickly, it doesn't inspire them, it frustrates them. They start to think math is just for math people and not for them, and if I come off as arrogant while I do it, it only makes things worse. So yeah, ego in math, too little and you won't even try, too much and you will stop growing. But the right amount is the fuel that keeps you going. Anyway, I think I've yapped enough for this video. Bye.